Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I want to welcome you to another show of the podcast where week after week I speak to these amazing C-suite leaders who share their insights, their experience with you, and hopefully inspire you. And if you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, review, download. We love those downloads so we can continue to bring you great content and resources. And just know we do this because we care about the C-suite leader to navigate their challenges and opportunities with confidence. And today, my special guest is Diana Hall, who is the CEO and founder of ActivArmor, is a global biomedical. I'm going to start that all over again.
Yep.
And I am pleased to introduce my fantastic guest, Diana Hall, who is the CEO and founder of ActivArmor, a global biomedical company. And what she does, I'm not going to even give away her backstory, is amazing on how she's revolutionizing care for individuals. And it's going to be an amazing story. So, with that, I am just going to say, Diana, it is my honor to welcome you onto this show and share your story and what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And to my listeners, oh my God, I have been on a journey reaching out to amazing leaders. And when I spoke to Diana, what she does, why she does it is so interesting. I wanted to bring the story and the changes she's making and hopefully connect one of you to her to help her in supporting the work that she's doing now. So, Diana, share with us a bit about yourself personally and the work that you're doing at Active Armor.
Absolutely. So I am a chemical engineer. I went to Colorado School of Mines. And after working in Fortune 500 companies in software and engineering for many years, I started running a mentoring program for children in poverty. And when I did that, they would have domestic violence, substandard living conditions, and they would often be wearing casts that they get with Medicaid that would be fiberglass or plaster. They would just get filthy. They would get wet and soggy. It would trap things underneath. They'd be scratching down underneath with a coat hanger, and they couldn't even practice basic hygiene like showering or washing their hands to have a snack. And I thought, man, this is archaic. We should be doing better than this, especially in today's day and age. So I started 3D printing little casts, custom fitted casts for them out of the same plastic as Legos. That way, it would be colorful. They would be fit perfectly so that it would immobilize them well. And they could practice basic hygiene. They could shower with it and swim, and they wouldn't get the skin breakdown and issues that they were getting. In the traditional cast, one little girl ended up with bed bugs under hers, and one little boy couldn't keep his dry outside the shower in a bag by himself. He was only in first grade and being raised by elderly and disabled grandparents. And he got his wet and they didn't have transportation to get it replaced, and he wore it like that for almost a month and ended up with permanent scarring on his arm. So really, I saw firsthand the benefits of being able to use biocompatible sanitizable plastics in replacement of traditional casting materials. And so I would ask the kids' doctors if they would be interested in if they would allow their children to wear this instead. And the doctor started asking me if I could make more of them. And that was in 2014. So I started working directly with the FDA to help develop the test protocols for 3D printed wearables. And I do publish research abstracts in collaboration with them and the Robert Fischel Medical Device Institute and other research hospitals all the time on 3D printed wearables and the benefits for them. And you can see those at the major trade shows like American Society of Orthopedic Surgeons annual conference, American College of Sports Medicine, etc. So now we are a nationwide and global company. We work with some of the top hospitals in the country, like Mayo Clinic, St. Luke's Hospital, Children's Hospital, Colorado, etc. And we are now in 15 other countries as well. And we provide a full 3D printing system to any providers who work with fracture care. So whether they're in pediatrics, we just launched ZAP Pediatric Orthopedics Clinic in Colorado just this last week. And we're looking to launch more clinics every single month. And so we're excited about our expansion. But we can go in not just pediatrics, but in sports medicine, in mainstream orthopedics. Also, we work with professional athletes. So, we fit, for example, the Miami Dolphins have a 3D printer right there in their training room. So we are excited about providing a waterproof, breathable alternative to traditional casting and splinting. And that's for all kinds of body parts: fingers, hands, wrists, elbows, long arm casts, and walking boots and AFOs, which are great because, as you can imagine, especially patients with diabetes that may need an offloading boot, every single one is custom fitted and designed for comfort and for their unique use case. If they want it thin and breathable, or they want it thick and protective and locked on or removable, if you have an offset for a pin or incision, or you need an exposure for a bone stimulator, all of that stuff comes with the product, because every single one is custom designed uniquely for that patient, for their injury, their condition, their body shape, and their use case. So their lifestyle. So if they're going to be swimming or bathing, or just in a messy, dirty job, workers' comp, it's great for them. If you're in food handling or healthcare, you can get back to work while you're still being immobilized and healing. So we're excited about the future of fracture care and immobilization, and that's what we do here at ActivArmor.
So I am just so grateful that you've been able to share your story, because I really truly hope that there's somebody out there that needs what you do, or knows somebody that can definitely value what you do. But I just want to go now just a little bit back in time. You made it sound so easy. Success came overnight. Here's who you're serving. And I think we might have skipped a few steps along the way from
Sure.
concept inception to where you're at now. I'd love to know, when did you realize you had something worth getting out into the world? So that's like the realization of your vision, but also the
Right.
challenges to get to where you're at now. So maybe the first question, when did you know that you arrived?
I knew when the demand started being pulled, like people found out about it and they started calling me. When your customers start calling you and saying, "Hey, I heard that this is available. We want this."
Mhm.
And when it's from the top key opinion leaders in your customer base. So when NFL team doctors and the top orthopedic surgeons in the country are the ones who are asking for it, you kind of get a feel for, this is something that is really needed and will be accepted by the mainstream, by the general day-to-day users of your product. And so you're right. It was a challenge after that. Once I saw that the demand was there and that the market was ripe for disruption, then it was about, how do you get into that industry? And it's tough. I am a chemical engineer, so I'm not medical space, right? And so when I started figuring out what it took to bring a medical device to market, there was a big learning curve, right? Because you have regulatory, you have FDA, you have the medical device liability insurance, and manufacturing standards, and quality control, and then implementation into the clinical practice. Like all of that is important and necessary. And as you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you wear all the hats at the beginning. And so you have to get a lot of funding, because there's a lot of legal work that has to be done, and just the setup, especially for production of uh, a new technology into an old school market. And then sales and marketing, right? So yeah, there was a big learning curve, and it took me a while.
So yeah, so let's just go back though. Then you said, okay, I've got something that is viable here. And then you said,
Mhm.
oh my, these are all the other compliance things that I
Yeah.
do. How then did you find those people in your ecosystem to support you with all of these new requirements?
Yeah, great question. And the answer is that I found experts in all the areas that I needed. So IP, I found an IP expert I brought them all onto my advisory board. So I knew that I didn't have all the tools in my tool belt that I needed. So I brought on a really robust advisory board. One of them is the founder of Exos, which is a thermoplastic splint that founder, a physician who, an orthopedic surgeon who brought a product to market in the same space, and they came on my advisory board. And someone who had worked as the director of sales for a company who tried to, who's in the same space doing something similar, and an IP expert, a legal expert, an expert in startups and getting them going, a bunch of orthopedic surgeons. Dr. Kevin Kaplan, the team doctor for the Jaguars, is on my advisory board, and Dr. Gloria Beam, the Winter Olympic CMO in 2016, and a lot of the top orthopedic surgeons and professionals in all of the areas. I brought them on my advisory board, and they helped me every single step of the way. And I couldn't have gotten here. I mean, I could handle the engineering side, right? But then there were so many other things that had to come into play that were new to me. So, oh, and then also, Dr. Lex Schultheis at the University of Maryland, who in the Robert Fischel Medical Device Institute, he was a huge help in getting through all the regulatory requirements and making sure that we had everything in place to be compliant. So yeah, tons of great expertise and experience on my advisory board.
So beautiful. And I think I probably need to myself, even for my business, have a robust advisory board because I want to change the world with what I'm doing. And I know that I'm not the smartest person. I need some really, really smart people around me. But let's just now go into then, okay, smart people advising you, but then what about funding of this entity? Because you
Mhm.
said you needed to invest a bit. So how has that worked for you over the years to be able
Sure.
to not only sell, but also fund changes, increases, requirements, et cetera?
Sure, and we've done it every way possible you can think of. We've
Okay.
done friends and family. We've done accredited investors, accredited individual investors. We've done a crowdfunding raise. We've done VC. We have gotten federal grants, and we have gotten an SBIR contract. So we just got $1.3 million SBIR contract to launch this into the military space and the DoD. So all of the ways that you could get to where we are, we have done it. And we continue to grow like that. And that is, it's one of those things where we try to scale the best we can based on sales, but sometimes you do need investment to really get your traction going and really to scale as you want to. And so that's what we have done. And it's about bootstrapping at the beginning. It really is, because until you're in the market and you've proven the market, it's always a catch 22, right? Because they're like, hey, let me see some traction in the market before we invest in you. And I'm like, but the investment is for traction in the market, because you have to invest in marketing and sales in order to get sales. And so that's always the big conundrum. And so I would say, look at your customer base. That's what I did. I went directly to the physicians and the individual accredited investors who believed in it and understood where it was going. And they put their money where their mouth is, and they invested in the company. And so it's great, because then when your customer base has skin in the game, that only makes it better, right? Because they're believing in you. It says a lot for your product, and you get the funding that you need. And, they're ending up with a little piece of the action.
And by showing up on the podcast, you're reaching an even larger audience. You never know who is listening who says, tell me more. How can I get involved? But let's
Right.
think about then maybe any challenges. Because again, I do want to get back to all the lives that you are changing. But, I come to start thinking about, well, then there is the insurance industry because, I would think, isn't this an alternative care for which you need to get certain coding approved to be
Mhm.
able to build? Any issues or challenges around that?
The great thing about our product is that there were already codes in place that were being used for custom fabricated splints, right? Which is what we make. So we tapped into existing codes that were already there and already being used. So if you go to a hand therapist and they have a sheet of thermoplastic and they heat mold it, they cut it and they heat mold it and they put the Velcro on it, same codes. So the insurance companies are used to seeing those codes. They're fine with reimbursing it. You don't need prior authorization or anything for that. And it reimburses very well and consistently. So if you can, instead of reinventing the wheel, and it's so much easier if you can slide into an existing space where there's a market gap. And I would definitely recommend and suggest that to anybody who is trying to get into an industry that requires insurance reimbursements and things like that. The more you can slide into their existing workflow and billing and all that, the easier adoption will be.
Okay, so cool. Checkbox, we've got that covered. But then when I think about what you're doing, the solution, and I'm sure there was a lot of engineering work going into it, sounds so simple. And obviously, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, you've shared a prototype, you've shown it, it's on your LinkedIn profile. It is it looks so simple. I'm sure it's not, but it's designed to look simple.
Yeah.
And so then the question though is it's so disruptive. It's so simple and it appears disruptive. Have your company been perceived as a threat to any other product or material supplier to the existing care that people do get through the current splints and boots and everything like that?
Oh, absolutely. And that's been a challenge, especially in even the federal space, right? Because they have their big corporate suppliers that they use. And those guys are not happy if you're taking a bit of their, market share. And so it is a challenge because you're going head to head, especially in medical devices, I mean, you're going head to head with some heavy hitters and some billion-dollar behemoth companies, and you're trying to compete with them, and that is always going to be a challenge. And the way that you can do it is, like I said, through getting grants and getting the right key opinion leaders in line so that they can help you introduce it into this space, and just have people who want the best for us. Our customer is doctors and physicians, so we look for those early entry points in high-end sports medicine, and the innovators, the early adopters, the doctors who really want to provide the best for their patients and are willing to bring on a digital process in an analog market. And those are the folks that we start with and then build it from there. So they're proving out the product, and you got to do it in phases. You got to prove the product in the market, then you prove the process in the market, and then you prove, then you start collecting all of the patient data. And once you can prove with actual patient data that it reduces their complication rates, it reduces their costs and their recasting rates, and it improves the patient's quality of life, the patient approval rates, and it increases their or decreases their fracture healing time or their recovery time, and it increases the positive healing outcome data and all that. When you can start proving all of that, then you can start pushing into mainstream orthopedics, and that's what we're doing. We're taking it step by step, and we're investing in it.
Oh, wow. I'm getting excited. Like, how many people can I introduce you to, even just through listening to this? But I got this huge network. You never know who might be able to collaborate with you. But let's just get now a little bit into the weeds and regarding introducing the digital process to surgeons. So, yeah, I see a cast, and yes, it's through digital processing. But what does that experience look like for the surgeon if they're thinking about adopting this new technology to do it themselves? It could be almost daunting, or people might not be accepting of the technology. What is it like for them to now experience this digital process to create a product that serves their customers?
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, and then also, if you want to see the whole system go in and get put into play too, like I just posted a video I think it's just posted on my LinkedIn just now. If it's not, it will be any day now. So if you follow ActivArmor on LinkedIn, you'll see it. But I also post testimonials from physicians and clinics that are using it and have implemented the process, so you can see it end to end. But what it takes is With the traditional casting method, somebody gets a fracture, they break their arm. Just like, let's say my daughter breaks her arm, I take her to the emergency room or the urgent care, and she's going to get some sort of a half cast or a wrapped trauma splint, right? And then she's going to get an appointment at the orthopedic surgeon, and she's probably going to have some swelling and stuff like that. And they're going to say, oh, yes or no, you need surgery, or no, you don't. They may reduce it into a cast, like align the bones. But after once it's stabilized, or if it's a stable fracture, how the process is now is they're going to take that trauma splint off. They're going to do a 30-second digital scan of whatever body part, and they're going to mark right on with a washable marker right on the limb where they want any cut lines or offsets to be, or what areas they want covered, or all the customizations. And then they get a digital design file. They can have thumbs, fingers, ankles, whatever. They get that file and they just plug it into a 3D printer that we install right there in their clinic, and they press start. And it's very easy to run. It's turnkey, plug and play. It's just like using a 2D printer where you replace an ink cartridge. That's how you do to change out the different colors. And then they press play, and in a matter of hours, it comes out, and they take the trauma splint off, and they put the ActivArmor cast on, and then it's easily removable if the doctor wants to take it off for exam and x-rays, although it is radiolucent, so you don't, but it's reusable, so you don't have to have the cast saws cutting it off and reapplying it for every exam and x-ray. It transitions from a locked on cast to a removable splint. The long arm cast transitions down into a short arm cast during the healing phases. So it eliminates a lot of the future work going forward. So there's that extra little couple hour turnaround time at the beginning, but it eliminates all future casting and splinting for that patient. And when you ask patients, hey, you're going to have to pick this up within a couple of hours or the next day, but then you can shower, you can swim, you can do all your basic lifestyle thing, wash your hands, whatever, is that worth it? 93% of patients will say absolutely. And so it is a patient driven type of a product. And the physicians who are not who are willing to change their workflow up to a digital workflow where they're doing a digital scan and a 3D print and then applying, they can actually see great revenues from it. A lot better than the procedure codes that they're using for the casting procedure also, right? So there's revenue. Oh, and there's also great marketing. I mean, like, I don't know if you can see there's logos. You can put your logos all over them. Patients become walking billboards for your practice when they're wearing this. And they're seeing you guys as the innovators, and that's the cool thing for physicians that they love, is they're being marketed around in their community, and that's a competitive advantage. It's a very competitive market right now in orthopedics, but in hospitals and in healthcare, and patients, it's patient driven. Patients are taking charge of their health and going where they see the best products and services being offered.
So let's translate this now. Then you say you're going after sports teams and athletes. How then does this work? Like, do you then sell directly to them or their company, or like how does this now work in service directly to athletes?
Sure. So, in the case of, like, for example, Dr. Kevin Kaplan, he works for a hospital network, and he implemented it into his clinic. So he provides it for all of his patients, not just his pro athletes, but he's also the team physician for the Jaguars, so he uses it for them too. Now, some pro teams have a 3D printer, and their athletic trainers are using it, right? So they're going to do it right there in the training room and offer it for their athletes. And then but the cool thing for athletes is you can ice bath in these. You can customize them for whatever position they are playing. That's how the device, it can be made custom for them. So it's great for athletes because they can sweat in them and shower, and they're also adjustable for changes in edema, which is so important. So it's great for athletes, and they can have it implemented in multiple ways through the team physician and their practice, or right there in their own training room.
So let's, I could talk on and on about this amazing product and service that you provide, but let's now talk about the person and yourself. Like, now you're talking a little bit to leaders out there that
Mhm.
working in a startup or maybe a semi-mature company, disruptive product. I would love for you to maybe share some thoughts or insights with those C-suite leaders that may have been on a similar journey to you. What have you learned, or what do you suggest to kind of navigate a little bit more with confidence, be a little bit less stressed? And I'm sure there's been a bit of stress along the way.
Yeah, and there still is. And some people say, "Hey, do you ever wonder if you're doing the right thing or have second thoughts?" And I say all the time. Like
Mhm.
all the time. I've been in this now for 10 years. That's a lot of time to invest your entire career, all of your financial comfort, your family's time and energy as well. It is, and you make sacrifices for it. And if I were doing it as just an entrepreneur again, I probably wouldn't pick a medical device. I would probably pick a commercial product that you can market and sell directly to people who want to buy it whenever because it's cool and they just want to buy it. When it's a medical device, it's a harder sell because you have to sell to the people who need it at the point in which they need it, right? So it has to be right at the beginning of a fracture. So have to make sure that it's in the orthopedic surgeon's office and that they understand all of the process on how to use it and that they're incentivized to use it and that it makes sense to them because I am not selling direct to consumer, though all of the majority of the benefits are for the end consumer. My actual customer is the orthopedic surgeon who's writing the scripts. So now I have to figure out what are the benefits to them. So we've got the marketing benefits, the patient satisfaction, the reduction in complication rates and things like that. But then also the billing opportunity, is there margins to be had in it and stuff. So you really have to think hard about what your customer wants and needs, and then be able to market to them. So I would say don't think about what the technology can do or how cool the product is, but more find a need that you can fill and adapt your technology to the need, not the other way around. Don't try to create your own market for a product that people don't know about. And that would be the key. It's going to save you a lot of time and energy if you do that. And also to find out people who have already done something similar and go and talk to them and get their input nonstop because that saved me years and millions of dollars to have people tell me. And even Dr. Ralph Bovard, who is the founder of Exos, he said, "Well, I'm not sure I can tell you what to do, but I can tell you a lot of what not to do." And that was hugely invaluable as well, right? Because he kept me out of a lot of situations where I wouldn't even thought that that could be a problem, right? And it's so important where to get an advisory board, like you said, of people who know all of the different aspects. I'm an engineer. I know the engineering, I know the technology and the science. I can get this, it to be functional, but there's so much more to it with a whole
Yeah.
business, as you know. Mhm.
So there's some things that you said that really, really resonate with me because I too, as I'm growing my business, um, don't have all the answers, but little by little, if you ask or look for people in your ecosystem, there are people out there because they care and understand you and believe in you. They
Mhm.
do give a lot of insights for free. And they're not necessarily looking for anything in return. But I will tell you, those people that have taken the time to care about what I'm trying to do have later become I've hired them, in terms of
Mhm.
coaching. Now, I'm ready. Now tell me how to do this. So
Yeah.
it's those people that are really sincerely interested in building relationships first versus let me see if I can fit my offer into what you need because you're broken. Don't
Yeah.
go there. I just got off of one of those calls. But the other but the other thing that you said was really enlightening, again, for a C-suite leader, you're trying to build your business. I was trying to sell to everybody, both the CEO, C-suite leader, and those struggling, managers and leaders that don't have a support system. And I later learned that those people, they are the ones that I can help, but they
Mhm.
weren't the decision makers. So I had to go back to the C-suite leaders who are the decision makers, who care about one, fixing the business so it's sustainable, and caring about the people to give them the support system and the essential skills. So, like you, I found out who really is my target market and
Yeah.
find a way to have those really important conversations on how you can change lives.
Yep. And if you are strapped on resources, whether that be time or money, you want to have a laser target. You don't want to be shotgunning it to I'm just going to shoot it out to the masses and try to get a tiny percentage of a giant market. You really want to laser focus on who is your target market entry person. if you shoot with a laser at 10, that are perfect, then and you hit 8, you're doing way better off than shotgunning it out and spending tons of time and resources shooting it out at 1,000 and trying to get 8 that aren't perfect matches, right? So yeah, I would definitely say if you're limited on resources, laser target your customers.
So, one last question. While you shared that you realized the need based on your early experience with children that were in difficult situations and how they needed just a different solution. But fast forward either direct customer testimonials or your client testimonials. What's been one that you just got the best feedback or accolade for the work that you're doing now? Like you truly know I've arrived and this is the work that I'm meant to do.
Yeah, so I would say that I mean, the testimonials are great. We get that from patients all the time. They're on Instagram, they're posting pictures of like, hey, look at me surfing and in my ActivArmor. So like that's all awesome. But to be honest with you, the biggest ones are the providers when they themselves say, hey, this has changed my practice and it's changed it for my patients. And this has become my standard of care now because it's been so much better for them. If you, and it's not just testimonials, it's about the actual data. We just found out that, St. Luke's Hospital ran a patient test on, a couple hundred pediatric patients using ActivArmor with amazing outcomes, and I didn't even know they were doing the trial. And so them doing it on their own without us, paying them or supporting them or asking them to do it or anything, and them saying, hey, this is such a cool new product and a great opportunity. I want to try it for my patients, and I'm going to publish research on it without even, you know, having our name on it or anything. They just wanted to do it because it was that great and that game changing, and they're publishing at these conferences with all of their peers. And that means the most to me is when I'm like, wow, this is really actually changing the game for the users and for their end customers, the patients, and that means the most to me.
Oh, so this was so inspiring. I just knew after we spoke that, oh, I can't wait to get this episode on the air for our listeners. So I truly, truly appreciate your story, the work that you have done to serve your clients and your end users. But at the same time, I do want to wish you continued success. But before we bring this to a close, I would love to give you the floor one last time to speak to my listeners and maybe how they can contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking for all the help we can get. We are a economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, and we are looking for help in many ways. If you are a patient, you need a cast, please advocate for us with your provider. Tell them, hey, if you haven't seen ActivArmor, please try this out. It'll be awesome for your patients, and there's tons of research showing that it is. And you can really stand out as a practice if you use this. And then for you, any of you who are providers or who might know providers in fracture care, please advocate for us. Let them know that it's out there. And we're trying to market as much as we can with the resources that we have, but we just need to get it out there. We need more fracture care providers to be using it and offer it. And then if you are an accredited individual investor or you have a group, an investment group or anything, we do have a 506c round open right now where we are selling stock in the company. It will be only until we close the round. And again, it's all going to be leveraged by our SBIR award funds. So it won't be, it's all going to be leveraged not only in the commercial space, but also in the military space. So if you want to help us with sales and distribution, if you have a medical, like, hey, we can distribute these in the medical device space, and you have a possibility with that, by all means, let us know. We are happy to have all the help that we can get in all of the different ways. And you can reach out to us in multiple ways. Just find me on LinkedIn if you want. It's Diana Elizabeth Hall. You can find me. And then you can also just find at ActivArmor. And you can find us at ActivArmor on, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. And you can also reach out to us through our website at activarmor.com. And if you see the spelling here, there's no E in active. It's all one word, ActiVarmor. So that's activarmor.com and at ActivArmor on all the social media.
So So grateful to have had you on the show and speaking to my audience. I'm so excited for one, getting to know you, and two, what the future lies ahead. So I want to thank you so much for dropping in on the show, being an amazing guest, and wishing you much success.
Thank you for having me.